This is going to be fun, Patrick.
I'm just saving all my joy for when the camera's on.
Save the joy. Camera's on. Camera's on. It's on right now. My God.
But I'm Xing boxes, man.
Yeah, you keep Xing. Keep Xing away.
So make sure I X the right box.
You can X as we go. The only one you don't have to X is 13 because we're definitely already gonna.
Ironically, I was just Xing that particular box.
Yeah, because that's gonna be our main discussion section. So
right.
We'll talk about that one for sure. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. If you're cool.
Yeah, man.
Or do you need more Xing space?
No, I'm good.
All right, here we go.
If I can't X on the fly, I'm done.
I took you for a man who could X on the fly. The first moment I met you.
Straight from Tejas.
Here we go.
The Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt is powered by Patreons like you. From 5 cents to $50, every contribution helps Tom and company produce fresh episodes of essential tech news. To learn more and support the show, visit patreon.com/acedetect. And thanks for listening.
This is the Daily Tech News Show for Wednesday, May 28th, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, old buddy of mine, Patrick Norton, host of Techzilla at TEKZILLA.com. How's it going, Patrick Norton?
It's going well. I understand I was preceded.
Yes.
Shannon was here this week.
That's the way I say it.
Can you tell I was an English major? Then I understand the nuances of the English language.
Actually, yes. That's one way of showing it there. Yeah, so not only that, but I'm going to officiate at Shannon's wedding, and you officiated at my wedding.
Which means when I get... No, I'm not getting remarried. No, wait a minute. Perhaps when I renew my vows, Shannon...
Yeah, there we go.
Master that.
Yeah, and we could do it by transitive. That's a good way of putting it. Let's look at some headlines. CNET reports from the Code Conference by Recode going on this week that Sergey Brin of Google fame unveiled a prototype two-seater driverless car without a steering wheel. The car's built-in sensors and software are the only control system. The project has only been tested at low speeds of 25 miles per hour or less, but has experienced no crashes. Now, Patrick, I think you figured out why 25 miles per hour.
Well, it's funny. You know, when you start looking at regulations, there's small vehicles that travel at 25 miles per hour or lower are essentially unregulated. Like you remember the electric Think cars that Ford had for a while, and there were various other electric cars. They kind of look like oversized golf carts, except they're being sold at car dealerships. A lot of electric cars, they are just relatively unregulated. If it's got four wheels and doesn't go over 25 miles per hour, the sky's the limit. Is the short version of it and not the detailed version of it. And suddenly my phone is trying to tell me that I should talk to you. But it's funny. I think I forwarded a link to you from the National Highway Traffic Safety Institute, where they're basically like, we don't want these cars on the road. We don't want these end loops around responsible safety features being put into four-wheel automobiles. That's for three-wheeled automobiles coming from China, usually electric powered and weighing about 8 pounds. But I can't decide if I'm excited about this or somebody who absolutely, utterly loves the driving experience, sees this as the beginning of the end, or if it's somewhere in between those two.
Yeah, it is a weird situation, and I think it was cool that Google put some wide range of demographic and ages in the video where they were demonstrating it to be like, listen, old people like Patrick and Tom, don't worry, these are perfectly safe.
Well, it's you know, on the one hand, having taken road trips where it was like 11 hours of monotony followed by an hour of beautiful views followed by several days in that spot not driving anywhere, there's part of me that would love to get to the point where I would trust a car enough to do the 9 hours of driving while I sat and played Risk with the kids. I mean, what better way to cross country? Like, oh, look, kids, there's a truck stop. You know, you know, I'm also imagining the interface like, wait, you know, are we going to be able to talk to the car? Car, stop, go to truck stop. Car, pull into Dunkin' Donuts. You know, will the voice recognition work? And having used Google Glass recently, I actually believe the voice recognition in the car will work. You know, but it's funny, like the UI, the whole user experience for a driverless car is going to be really fun to work out.
Now, you might think the driverless cars would be bad news for companies like Uber, but you would be wrong, at least in the case of Uber. The Verge reports also everything's happening at the Code Conference. Uber CEO Travis Kalanick said the company would eventually replace people who drive its cars with cars that drive themselves. They would like to do that. Kalanick said, when there's no other dude in the car, these are his words, the cost of taking an Uber anywhere becomes cheaper than owning a vehicle. So the magic there is you basically bring the cost below the cost of ownership for everybody, and then car ownership goes away.
Ha.
I don't know. I mean, theoretically possible. What you say, ha, because it's not all about finances, right?
It's not all about finances. I actually, having had to explain to taxi drivers in both San Francisco and New York City how to get to where we were going, which is hysterical if you're in the gridded parts of New York City, less hysterical if you're going for some of the weird parts of San Francisco that are just these bizarre, streets that just nobody can find without a GPS anymore. I agree for something like Uber or a delivery company or a grocery delivery company or trucking companies that driverless vehicles are incredibly compelling because, hey, if for a truck driving for $50,000 a year, you can eliminate in expenses if you eliminate the driver. I'm not entirely sure, driverless vehicles go away for the vast majority of the population. There's 300 million registered vehicles in the United States. I think it's decades before we even put a dent in that percentage with driverless cars.
I think it may threaten the entry-level class of car where somebody just is like, I don't have a lot of money. I'm just going to go with, renting a driverless car when I need one, right? But there's always going to be people who want those luxury driverless cars.
Well, it's also it's one of those it's a much bigger problem in San Francisco. It's a much bigger problem in San Francisco and New York City, or maybe San Francisco, Manhattan, and Park Slope, Brooklyn, than it is in, say, almost everything, west of the Hudson and east of.
I grew up in a town without taxis, man. You don't have to tell me. Like, if you didn't own a car, you were walking.
Yeah, and so now you can actually have a fleet of Ubers in your taxiless town. No, the financials aren't going to work out on that either.
Exactly. And one other minor point, Uber announced it will partner with AT&T to pre-install its app on new Android phones. So Uber becomes crapware, yay. It's also this breaking just now, Jenny Josephson, our producer, on top of it, Apple buying Beats Electronics for $3 billion, not a rumor anymore. Part of the deal will be Beats Music, which launched as a Spotify competitor earlier this year. Recode has the report up, and apparently there's going to be an announcement at the Code Conference. Apple likes the business Beats has built, wants to make new stuff. CEO Tim Cook said, we could build about anything that you could dream of, but that's not the question. The thing that Beats provides us is a head start, and it provides us with incredible people and kindred spirits. Aw, they just love each other.
This is the world's most expensive acqui-hire.
The Apple says the deal will close by the end of the fiscal year, which means by the end of September. That's the fiscal year for Apple, and it will be accretive in its next fiscal year if you're worried about those sorts of things.
Well, I always contemplate the financials on large deals. I'm just like I wonder if there's some part of me that wonders if in whatever afterlife he might or might not be in, if Steve Jobs is spinning in his grave right now,
or is he dancing?
I don't know. From a
to some
hardware
beats.
perspective, I like what O'Malley said when these rumors first started coming up. It's like, Apple can more than easily make its own crappy, overpriced headphones. Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine not, and the sort of the understanding, the service that Beats did, Beats Music, the estimates I've seen put it at probably 300,000 subscribers at this point. I love the fact that they're bringing the human aspect to it, which is something that some of the music services needs. I'll be curious. I just hope. The Beats, as much as I don't like the Beats headphone, the Beats Music service is really intriguing. I would just hate to see Apple crap that up just like every other shared online music experience they've done in the last couple of years.
Seriously. Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine will join Apple, as you might expect. Timothy D. Cook said this to the New York Times. These guys are really unique. It's like finding the precise grain of sand on the beach. They're rare and very hard to find. At least he didn't go for Snowflake. I'm going to give him that.
I'm just kind of like, because these guys, their profile is so low.
More people said things at the Code conference, including Kleiner Perkins investor Mary Meeker, who always has a really interesting annual trends report. One trend that she talked about was the slowing number of people joining the internet, less than 10% growth per year now. But there is fast growth of mobile usage. Usage of mobile data is up 81%. Meeker also asserted that fans trump audiences. She gave Reed Hastings of Netflix a little credit for this, meaning that a fan base that shares and comments and creates content around a show is much more valuable to advertisers than a large audience number. Recode also reports Microsoft's VP of Skype, Gurdeep Singh Pal, demonstrated Skype Translate on stage at the Code conference yesterday evening. Feature uses speech recognition, text-to-speech, and machine translation to offer real-time translation to a live Skype call. It's freaking Universal Translator. Paul demonstrated it translating from English to German and back in a conversation with a German employee. He said the feature should launch in beta later this year with a limited number of languages on Windows, but they plan to expand from there. We're going to talk about this a bunch. This is our main discussion topic, I think.
Yeah, I'm torn between thinking this is this fascinating tool that's going to allow sort of you can find someone on the internet, you can talk to them in their native language, it'll be all face to face over Skype, it'll be video, and then I think about how extraordinarily awful the Skype experience is on a regular basis. Now, admittedly, I am extremely critical of this, like yourself, Tom. I spend a lot of my workday dealing with Skype and trying to do production on Skype, so obviously our bar is maybe a little higher than it would be, but you think about the massive amounts of computational power it's going to require to do real-time language translation, even with simple stuff. They're like English and German. It's like, well, yeah, that actually makes sense. A lot of English is from German and Latin and French, and it's the computing sources that's going to take. I think you're talking about 2 billion minutes of conversation every day on Skype, presumably between people that communicate in the same or similar languages. I'd like them to spend some of this energy sorting out all of Skype's profound networking issues and lag issues and quality issues.
I'm going to dig a little deeper on this in a few minutes, so hold those thoughts.
I'm so sorry. I thought this was the few minutes.
ZDNet reports Apple has acknowledged the attack largely targeting Australian users that has locked people out of their iOS devices is in fact happening. Apple says, yes, we know. They noted that Apple's iCloud was not compromised during this incident. Impacted users should change their Apple ID password as soon as possible, implying it was somebody who used the same password in two places, and that's how the attack worked. Users from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the U.S. report being hit by the attack. Now, if you thought we were done with news about people saying things at the Code conference, not quite. Intel CEO Brian Krzanich wore a smart shirt during his talk. The shirt measured heart rate and other vital signs and was made in conjunction with AIQ. The battery-powered shirt will be available this summer. Krzanich also showed off Jimmy, a white robot that can walk, talk, and dance. Intel has plans for a consumer robot-making kit that could sell for $1,600. Krzanich admitted Intel missed the tablet trend, and while they haven't given up on tablets, they're focused on not missing another trend like robots or wearables. You gonna wear this shirt, Patrick?
Absolutely. And I'm going to have tweets every time my heart rate goes up or down or my internal temperature changes.
Mashable passes along the Wall Street Journal report that Facebook asked the European Commission to review its acquisition of WhatsApp in order to prevent future legal challenges in European countries. Facebook was not required to get European approval, but they may have decided it was just easier than fighting this out country by country later. GigaOM reports Samsung announced plans to create an open platform for developing sensors and services to track personal health in real time. The initiative will start with a modular wristband reference design called SimBand that tracks heart rate and blood pressure. Not Sinbad, by the way, SimBand, but could expand into other devices. Samsung also announced a $50 million digital health challenge to encourage development of better sensors and better algorithms for healthcare. Oddly, Samsung did not cover federal approvals, and they even told GigaOM that they're just not going to seek FDA approval. So I'm not sure how that works. TechCrunch reports on a new $199 printer called the Mod T, designed by Frog Design and backed by Idea Lab. It's a low entry-level machine that gives you just a minimum layer height of 0.02 millimeters. You can only print using the starch-based plastic PLA, but hey, printer. The printer is small, and the printing plate moves under the stationary head, reducing some of the complexity, bringing down the price. It does print pretty slowly. Backers of the Indiegogo can get it for even cheaper, though. If you back the Indiegogo crowdsourcing platform for the machine, it's only $149. This is like the Timex Sinclair of 3D printers, it seems like.
I don't know. I'm curious to see. I really want to see real world on it, and it's beautiful. I mean, aesthetically, it's one of the most pleasing designs I think I've seen in a 3D printer, which makes sense from Frog Design. I really wish it did ABS along with PLA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and theoretically, they put out a $200 one like this, then maybe there's a $300 one that can do both. Eventually,
Right.
Just add another print head to it or something.
We wait with bated breath.
Looks like Mark Zuckerberg can skip that Iranian court date we mentioned yesterday. BuzzFeed passes along that the Iranian student news agency has removed their story from yesterday. They had said that a court in Fars had required Facebook's director or his attorney to appear in court. ISNA has published a statement by the Fars province prosecutor's office denying that report. Also, Al Monitor reports the chief prosecutor of Shiraz also told the official Islamic Republic news agency that the reports were false. So backtrack. Finally, a couple of things from our subreddit, our news from you. These are submitted at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Our top story of the day on the subreddit anyway was submitted by Captain Kipper. Valve announced it will be releasing its own version of the Steam machine in Valve time, which means it's delayed until 2015, along with the Steam controller. Valve's Eric Hope said the company got a ton of useful feedback on the controller, and they want to get it right. This is the way Valve does things. The delay will not impact the release of the Steam OS, and it has no effect on third-party Steam machines that aren't made by Valve, so those might still come out sooner. And Mike P. Kennedy submitted the Verge article that Amazon has confirmed it is buying less inventory from Hachette Publisher and is no longer taking pre-orders for Hachette books as part of a dispute over ebook prices. Amazon even suggested customers might want to consider Amazon competitors if they need to buy a Hachette book and get it fast. Amazon also suggested that it and Hachette should create a pool of funds to give to Hachette's authors being affected by the slowdown in sales. Hachette declined the offer, at least until Amazon and Hachette come to an agreement. Then Hachette said, you want to give our authors a bunch of extra money then? That's fine. But let's figure this out first. And that is a look at the headlines. If you folks have been on the road and said, gosh, I would like to listen to the Daily Tech News Show live on my phone while I'm driving around, and there's so many other great podcasts from Frog Pants and other places, what do I do? Well, you just check out Alpha Geek Radio's mobile site at mobile.alphageekradio.com. The interface is simple. You get all 3 channels. You can listen to your heart's content as you drive along. It's like radio, which is why they call it Alpha Geek Radio. So go check it out, mobile.alphageekradio.com. We thank them for carrying the Daily Tech News Show. Todd is amazing. All right, man, let's get back into talking about Skype Translate. And just to set the table for this part of the discussion, I want to play a couple of demo clips. First, Rick Rashid, Chief Research Officer at Microsoft, gave a speech in November 2012 in Tianjin in China at Microsoft Research Asia's 21st Century Computing event. He was speaking and being translated on the fly into Mandarin. Check this out.
This technology is very promising. 用这个技术很有希望. And we hope in a few years that we'll be able to break down the language barriers between people. 数年后，我们希望能够打破人们之间的语言障碍。
That is the basis for what VP Gurdeep Singh Paul showed on stage at Recode yesterday, or Code Conference yesterday. He was able to one-up this, though. Instead of just having a speech translated on the fly, he had a conversation with German employee Diana Heinrichs live over Skype. And here's an excerpt from that.
Oh, ich liebe London. Ich habe ein Semester in Oxford studiert.
Whoa. Oh, I love London. I studied a semester in Oxford.
Wir waren oft auf der Portobello Straße und in Camden Town.
We were often on the Portobello Road in Camden Town.
I got the Camden Town.
I think my family would love it there this summer, but I'm sure my kids will miss their friends back in Seattle.
Ich denke, dass die Familie es dort diesen Sommer lieben würde. Aber ich bin sicher, dass meine Kinder vermissen ihre Freunde zurück in Seattle.
Now, That's pretty good. It only messed up once, and I didn't use the part where it messed up just to be nice, but it's pretty impressive. I mean, barring any conspiracy theories that this was pre-recorded or something like that, if that's really it working, that's pretty good.
I mean, I took just enough Chinese in college to know just exactly how badass the early version was, where it's translating English to Chinese, which is such a non-trivial, translating English to Chinese on the fly and not having the audience either like attack you or burst into hysterics because you've either offended them or said something profoundly wrong, is non-trivial. There's part of me that wants to be snarky and say, oh, they've built in the Skype delay. Because the sentence was completed and then the translation comes sort of a split second later, which is part of kind of the tradition of a Skype conversation. Because of network delay and encoding. And if I can walk away from my smartassiness for a moment, it's pretty outrageous. Obviously, it's going to, at this point, it would radically change the cadence of the conversation, and there would be that sort of, pause and back and forth. But I can honestly say this could be really exciting, as a Windows 8 beta app, although I can already see people, mentally commenting like, "Oh, Windows 8, I'll never touch it. Wait till it comes on Windows XP or Windows 7." But
it's not coming to Windows XP, folks. Give it up.
No, I think not. It may come to Skype running on Windows XP, but it's not quite the same thing. But it's, I'm curious, like, they're talking about, neural network analysis, and it's like I'm envisioning this massive array of machines in the cloud and wondering just exactly, because everybody talks about cloud, it's cloud computing, it doesn't cost anything. It's like, well, there's a reason they're building all those cloud computing systems, near large bodies of water or other huge sources of electricity. And there's reasons why AMD has this hugely compelling business model where they're building these powerful processors that are running on small amounts of electricity, and obviously Intel doing the same thing. I'm curious, will it work? Will it scale? And then will anybody use it? How big is as fascinating as this is, and such an awesome achievement in basic research? I'm curious, like, what is the worldwide market for this? Is it everybody, or is it a much smaller subset of everybody?
Depends on how they price it too, right? That makes a big difference. But I can definitely see certain business conferences taking advantage of this. However, at the same time, if it's a delicate negotiation or a first-time meeting, you may not want to rely on the Skype translation to deliver your first impression. So that's hard to say. A couple other things that are interesting here that touch on what you brought up about the cloud computing. CEO Satya Nadella, before he handed it over for the demonstration to Paul, noted that when they've been doing their machine translation training for the neural network side of this, when they add a language, their translation software gets better at the previous language. So he's like, when we took German and added Spanish, it got better at German. And then when we added Mandarin, it got better at Spanish and German. And he's like, we don't even know why it does that.
And suddenly Microsoft took the lead in the development of Skynet back away
That's
from
right.
Google.
That's exactly what Kara Swisher and Walt Mossberg said. They're like, I'm not sure that's a good thing. And they pointed out that they actually want people to, in small numbers, it doesn't even have to be the majority of users, let them upload their conversations because that will help them improve it as it goes as well.
That's the funny. I mean, language is such a subtle and nuanced and crazy thing. I mean, just was it David Sedaris who did Me Talk Pretty Someday? Mm-hmm. And it talks about that evolution, and we've watched this in machine translation, or even like grammar correction. Like one of the most beautiful reviews I ever saw was somebody looking at this software that was supposed to fix your grammar. This is years and years and years ago, in the early days of Microsoft Word. And it said a bus schedule had perfect grammar. It offered a lot of corrections to like a third grader's essay that made it better, and then it took an E.B. White essay and destroyed it with its fixes.
Like this is an affront to the English language. Yeah.
And basically turned it into Me Talk Pretty Someday by fixing all the misuses of the language by E.B. White. And it's exciting and kind of frightening for the idea that a machine can be intelligent enough to pick up, especially if it gets good at dealing with dialects and regional colloquialisms, and cue the teenage version of it where it automatically goes to Urban Dictionary and figures out all of the weird little language that my sons will be using in a few more years.
I think that could be one criticism of this, is that all of this technology already exists. Microsoft's just packaging it together in Skype, right? You can get the Google Translate app right now, speak into it, press a button, and it gives you a translation in Japanese or whatever. It's just that Microsoft's stringing them together. I don't think it's fair to say that's nothing, though, to be able to do it on the fly like that.
Yeah, and a lot of people were making cars before Henry Ford kind of figured out how to do it in a way that made it hugely popular and affordable for everyone.
Germans are very, very frequently point that out. They were making cars long before Henry Ford. And Britons were making steam-powered cars. So, yeah, it's all about who can make it work right. And that goes back to your original point. Is this going to work as well in real life to actually be useful for people and not just be a novelty? I think I could. I can definitely see trying it, and having a guest on that doesn't speak English and see how well it goes. But there's also the part of me that just wants to have the Skype talk to itself, and like I speak English, it translates to German, and then it sends the German to another Skype that takes the German and translates it back to English, and see how mangled it gets at the end.
The ultimate game of telephone. I also want to check xkcd.com right now to see if there's already been some sort of recursive.
Let's look at Randall's brain. What are you? Exactly. Yeah, it's coming. All right, real quickly, look at the calendar. NTT Docomo, Japan's largest carrier, will start carrying the iPad Air and the iPad Mini on June 2nd. That was announced today. Add this date to your calendar, too. In the U.S., AT&T is going to bring the Asus Padphone X for pre-order on June 6th for $199. Our pick of the day comes from Dave the Psychologist, Dave Broadbeck, who's been using Boss Jock Studio for iOS for about a year now. It's a nice podcasting app, he says, that allows you to mix in music as well as export files as MP3 or AAC to various platforms. You can email the files, transfer them to your computer, and FTP them to many places. It is a great mobile podcasting platform, and I use it a lot with my son for his podcast, The Jonathan Files. So check it out, bossjockstudio.com. Dave does some great podcasts out there, too. Those are worth checking out as well. I think it's at Thunderbird 6. Look for that, Dave Broadbeck. All our picks are at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Got a couple of messages to get to before we wrap this up, and the first one comes from Atlanta with a caller wondering about the idea that YouTube would provide direct crowdsource funding through YouTube.
Hi, Tom. Tony from Atlanta. I heard you mention on the Memorial Day short episode about Google potentially paying or offering up users the ability to pay content creators. I'd really be interested in hearing what you think of that. Kind of sounds like it could be a Patreon killer. So yeah, love to hear your feedback on that. Bye.
Yeah, so I think it's a good thing in a way, because the more ways people have to raise funds for their content, the better. I don't think Patreon necessarily would be killed by it any more than Kickstarter got killed by Patreon coming along. There's different ways of doing these sorts of things. But I do think that I worry personally about, would I want to raise my funds through a YouTube tool and put Google in charge of even more of my money and information? What do you think, Patrick?
I think YouTube makes a lot of money on video, and I think the artists that create the video make a very small percentage of that money, and I think the idea that artists may circumvent, maybe not YouTube as a distribution platform, but YouTube may lose what little control it has over people creating content by them making more money elsewhere, probably scares the pants off of any of a number of executives inside of Google and YouTube.
I'll tell you what YouTube should do if they, and this is a very googly move that I wouldn't be surprised if they do, is they put this crowdfunding thing in here and they say, all we're going to take out is credit processing fees, because we have to.
Right.
But we're not going to keep any of this, at least, temporarily, till it gets up and running. To say, like, we know that creators need more money, so we're going to let the audience give direct to you, because we're still going to run ads on your stuff. And that's how Google makes its money.
Right.
We'll see if they do that. I don't know if they will. William Burlingame writes in, says, in the May 23rd episode of DTNS, the subject of local ISP competition was mentioned. Based on the situation in Huntsville, Alabama, local competition with ISPs doesn't seem to accomplish much. Okay, so this is a counter example to what we usually hear about. We have two cable companies in town. Both companies have cable monopolies in most of their markets, and the local rates are not affected by the competition. The companies are Comcast and WOW. When the city council allowed a second cable company to compete in the 1980s, there was a price war. Both companies were rather small. Of course, that was before broadband internet, and they only provided TV service. The rates became so low, about $5 a month, that I subscribed to both for a while because they had different channel lineups. I used an AB switch. However, over the years, they went through several iterations of buyouts by larger companies, and of course, the rates have skyrocketed. The service they offered is about the same. Each has their pluses and minuses. One reason for the lack of competitive pricing is probably the size of our market. Should competition become widespread, it would probably make a difference. So William's willing to admit, like, this may not be representative results. But it is interesting to hear about two companies that did have competition, did bring down prices, but when they got bought by a larger company, the price pressure went away because the larger company's like, well, we don't really care about this small market, but we're not going to sell things for $5 a month. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I always, there's always somebody, I have these moments where I hear somebody talking about, the free market economy will provide, you have multiple options for internet in your area. And it's like, well, I got low speed DSL for most of the cost of cable, and very rarely there might be a wireless opportunity that's actually affordable, not wireless like Verizon or AT&T, but wireless like a small local wireless operation. And it's interesting. The story earlier that basically said I think year over year mobile internet access was up 81%, and
the data usage was data
usage, right? So there's obviously going to be this massive, I can smell some sort of either massive upgrade being done by the major carriers or a massive squeeze on existing data amounts or caps or
both.
Yeah.
They're not exclusive, yeah.
Yeah, or sort of caps followed by, a la carte charging followed by increasing of prices because they need to pay for the upgrades. I think this is just going to get uglier and uglier as people, deliver more video and possibly things that are even more data intensive moving forward.
And even in William's example, there were only two competitors,
right.
And it shows how that can reach a sort of steady equilibrium over time. That's actually what more people have, is probably two competitors. You may need more than two to actually,
right.
drive innovation and have consumer friendly pricing.
Which is why Google should go everywhere with their data.
It seems to work. Austin's got like 4 fiber providers now suddenly, ever since Google came in and said, we're going to do fiber there soon. They haven't even rolled it out yet, and already it's happening. Patrick Norton, always a pleasure chatting with you, no matter where or when. Really appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
TEKZILLA.com, TechZilla.com. Patrick and Shannon from yesterday on the show. Anything going on in particular you want to tell people about there?
Well, we also I do another show called Ditryin, DIYTRYIN. We built we turned a car battery into an emergency charging station.
Nice.
For all of your sort of mobile device charging needs the next time the electricity goes out. And we're actually I can't show you right now because it's in a smoker outside of our office, but we are making bacon as we speak. Bacon is really easy to make. The next time you see me, I could weigh 300 pounds.
So wait a minute. When you say you're making bacon, like you're like taking raw pork product and turning it into, you're not just like bought some bacon at the store and started frying it.
We started with pork belly and a jar of curing salts. And a week later, we are smoking our bacon. Yeah, we also do stuff like how to build a FreeNAS, build your own FreeNAS box, and headlight restoration, and we make stuff or
all the important
stuff.
things: power, networking, bacon are covered on DIY Try.
And just lock me up in the house and watch me get bigger.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Twitter.com/Patrick Norton to follow Patrick. Thank you to our patrons. 4,018 of you have decided, you know what, I see a little value in the show. I'm going to give a little value back, and do not think it goes unappreciated for any moment of any day I am in existence. You make this show possible, so thank you so much. bit.ly/helpdtns if you're interested in finding out more about Patreon and how it supports the show and makes the show possible. Don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 512-59-DAILY, 512-593-2459, and listen to the show live at mobile.alphageekradio.com. Our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Possibly, even if the Cardinals beat the Yankees, Don Reisinger will join us tomorrow. We'll see you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Woohoo! That was a great show, man.
Oh, thank you. That was fun.
You. That was fun.
You make it so easy, Tom.
Oh, I try.
You make it look so suave and sophisticated.
It's the beard.
Yeah.
Anybody could do it.
No, if I grow a beard, I start looking like a homicidal serial killer from the 19th century.
It's a look. I mean,
it's a distinctive look. It
you
just
can work with
involves
that.
People
right?
crossing the street.
Depends on what effect you're looking for, right?
Oh my goodness.
I'm eating ice cream for lunch. I'm admitting that to the internet.
You're saying this is the man who's about to have a pile of bacon for lunch.
Yeah. Now, if only there could be bacon ice cream and the world would be complete.
There is.
Oh, yeah. The link is going to hit the chat room momentarily. I will guarantee you. As soon as it makes through the delay, they do a search.
Yeah.
And get back to you. Yep.
Bacon ice cream.
Amazon buries the hachette.
Oh.
Even though we didn't talk about it that much, that's not bad.
Did we use it first, or did someone else do it first?
Oh, that's a good question. That seems like one that somebody else might have come up with.
Right? Like in the rest of the internet? Let's see what else. We could borrow the joke from Farhad Manju and credit him in the show notes, which is, what did he say? Where is I gotta find it now in the twits. It was a Dr. Dre
Beats
lyric.
by Apple, B-U-I. Except it's Apple buying Beats, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it doesn't quite. It don't quite. Oh, it's apparently Mike Isaac's joke.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I can't find it. Twitter goes by too fast.
What else you got? Amazon buries the hachette. If that's not already been taken by someone.
I'm gonna be Googling that right now. Amazon buries the hachette.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
What's up?
Oh, Apple will operate Beats music streaming service separately from the iTunes download store.
That makes sense. I would.
Yeah, it's all over the
I would
place.
assume unless they were going to kill it, that it would operate separately.
Right.
So it would have to be one of those two.
But at least they're not going to kill it.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
Not until they've killed. Well,
Stay tuned for a calendar item in 2015. Yeah, I did see forceofgeek.com, bookbanter.com have used it. Hatchet buries the hatchet in Amazon's head from techeye.net. It's out there.
It's not a main story, so I feel less impelled.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. What was our main story? Skype?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the Star Trek Universal Translator joke?
It's all Greek to me. I am exporting the MP3, so I'm going to have to make a call soon.
Make a call, have it translated? I don't know.
You're just taking the last thing I said and turning.
Can we call it How About Donuts? I've decided now we should title our shows based on just stuff people say in the chat room.
Totally random.
How about donuts? Like, it makes just as much sense to anybody else.
Apple by Beats.
Yeah. Let's do it. Are you worried that people are going to call you on typo?
No, I'm not worried about that. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Baby, you can't drive my car because it doesn't have a steering wheel.
Yeah.
A little long. Skype talk pretty. Oh, that's good.
Oh!
Hawkwood for the win.
Woo! That is amazing.
And that works in the David Sedaris reference.
I was going to say, I was so proud. Did I help influence that?
I think you did. I'm 100% sure you did.
Me talk Skype one day.
Me talk Skype. Oh, now I'm torn.
No,
Skype
I think the first one is...
Okay, I'm going to stick with that.
Just received word from one of my co-conspirators here that the bacon is up to temperature and is being removed from the smoker as we speak.
So Patrick has to go.
Bacon Watch 2014 continues.
I just like the idea of someone's bringing me a slab of freshly made bacon.
Hey, is there a bacon con?
There's a bacon.
I don't know, but I found 7 different places in the Bay Area that supposedly have bacon ice cream on rotation on the menu.
Oh, nice. Man.
Although one of those may be secret breakfast.
Gotta find us one in LA, man.
Bacon ice cream LA.
Yeah. If I were a billionaire, I'd have secret breakfast imported down here daily.
I don't even think you need to be a billionaire to do that. Bacon ice cream, Los Angeles, California, Yelp. All right. By the way, apparently there's a United States of bacon in Los Angeles. Am I interrupting the normal process by talking right now, by the way?
This is in fact the normal process.
I just wanted to make sure.
You're participating in the normal process.
So,
does anyone have questions?
Bacon.
Oh, I'm gonna wait till I finish exporting. Then we'll get to the question.
Oh, right.
Sweet Rose Creamery in Brentwood. Who else mixes bacon with ice cream? Scoops West.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. It's really good.
Saffron and Rose. Nouveau Artisan Creamery, inspired by Bayreuth.
Whoa.
Pazzo Gelato, 3 words, bacon ice cream, sold 5 stars, end of story.
Where's that?
That is in Silver Lake.
All right.
There's a Cool House.
BaconFestChicago.com.
Oh, you're looking for bacon conferences?
No, TVZ Gun just sent it.
Oh my goodness, there's a Cool House ice cream truck. And they make bourbon bacon ice cream, which is that, and throw some freaking flakes on it, and you've got your secret breakfast.
Yeah, right? Perfect. Can I get Frosted Flakes sprinkles on my bourbon bacon ice cream, please?
Patrick can only solve so many food problems in a day. He has solved bacon, and we super appreciate it.
Oh my goodness, Bacon Con.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is one of those Google searches that's just completely delete expletive. So Bacon Con, Huevos Rancheros Con Bacon, Bacon.
Oh.
BA space CON on YouTube. Pros and Cons of Bacon. Kevin Bacon, Podcast 8, Bacon Con 2009. Bacon and cheese stuffed ripe plantains, followed by a chili con carne recipe.
Followed
by more baked plantains. Croquette. So weird. Followed by prunes wrapped with bacon. Followed by more Kevin Bacon. Sorry.
A lot of Kevin Bacon involved there.
It's just.
We already have questions. I know you're not done yet, but there's all these questions.
I know.
Kind of neat.
It's cool.
Here I go. I got a cough.
So Patrick, you can leave whenever you need to.
Okay.
We're done with the main portion of the show. We just kind of hang out after. No, I'm not trying to rush you off either. Just that, you know.
Patrick has important bacon to tend to.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
I'm just still hoping that a plate of bacon shows up next to me, or bacon on a fork. Just
I'm hoping a plate of bacon shows up next to me too. But I think you've got a better
That's my
chance.
dream.
I got a lead on that.
You've got actual possibilities of that happening.
Oh, wait, is it TaskRabbit?
Or Fancy Hands?
SF Bay area. Is it down in LA yet? Hold on.
Yeah,
TaskRabbit.
there's something like it down here. I think it's TaskRabbit.
Post a task.
Send a plate of bacon to this address.
Bring me bacon. Yeah. 10,000 years of human evolution, the pinnacle of technology, all developed so I don't have to get off my ass to get bacon.
Yeah.
We could put a man on the moon, but I still have to get off my ass to get a plate of bacon?
What's wrong?
I had 2 separate Instacart people go to Costco and Ralph's for me in one day. And by the way, Ralph's is just down the street. It's not far. And they were like, I could tell like both of them were almost definitely grad students. And I was like, this is terrible. So sad. Okay. Oh, Metal Freak. I know I'm supposed to be waiting, but I acknowledge that Metal Freak has a question, and his will be the first we ask.
Well, if there's any that you can answer without me, go ahead.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying I can't think about the answers quite yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm still posting.
Well, you might have something to say about this one, so I'll hold. But I acknowledge Metal Freak has asked a question.
Are we following Robert's rules of order? I yield the remainder of my time to Metal Freak.
Also, Metal Freak gets the first question because I'm wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt again today.
Ah.
So there's that.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know. Metal Freak may not consider that actually metal. Not
Metal
sure
Freak, weigh in. Guns N' Roses?
stands on
That's
Guns N'
metal.
Roses.
It's not metal. It's
not very.
The fine edge line between hard rock and metal.
Metal Freak may have taken his name from the fact that he's very into ferrous materials.
I may have seriously pissed off Metal Freak. Great.
I don't think you'd be pissed off. You might be more bemused.
Oh, are we getting some Tweety questions too? Hold on. Nope, not yet.
Okay.
All right.
Let me just need to confirm that this worked, as I always do. Alpha Geek Radio people get to hear my test.
Yeah! Slash is metal. Yeah!
It is confirmed. Slash is metal.
And Slash really is, despite what anyone says, the absolute heart and soul of Guns N' Roses.
All right, I'm out of the post.
Okay.
And
Okay. First question. No, wait. That didn't sound like you were done. I'm so excited for the question.
I know. All right, go ahead.
Because there's one I can answer. Okay. The question was, how do we pick guest co-hosts? Wait, Tom's not done.
You can read the whole
I thought you
question.
were going to answer.
Oh, if I was going to answer.
And then I'll weigh
How
in.
we do it is a complicated alchemy of... I sometimes, like once a month, ask Tom, like, hey, is there anybody that we should have on the show that I wouldn't know or don't think of or who we haven't, like, ever seen on our show before? And we make, like, this list, and I go out and, like, but I go out and ask those people. And then there are the regulars, the genuine guaranteed magic, like Patrick Norton, the people who we can absolutely rely on just to be banging awesome every time.
I don't think that's what the question was.
And then the one thing that I think I would like to be better at is getting the really hard news day of air guests who have written the very difficult, well-researched, well-reported story on whatever the topic of the day is. And I think we've done that well, but we haven't done it consistently, and that is because our booking department is just me.
Yeah. So it's kind of a combo of like people we know are going to be good, and trying not to overstay our welcome, right? And you know, have them be like, they call me too much. I'm not doing that. And then balancing that with like getting new people who we've never talked to before on, so we get fresh perspectives, balancing it across like regions, so that, you know, we try to get worldwide perspectives on as often as possible. But there's also a bit of regularity that we would like to pursue as well. So like Darren's always on Friday helps us out, because we know, with some exceptions where he has to travel or something, that Friday's taken care of. So it's that kind of delicate balancing act. It's parts algorithm, part, you know, I ran into somebody and said, oh, you should totally be on the show. And then and the rest of it is just Jenny emailing people and finding out who can do it when.
Yep. And I would say the other thing about guests is that every once in a while you'll see a week that goes Scott Johnson, Brian Brushwood, LeVar Wilson, Wally
And I just
Wood.
want to say that is entirely by design, because we know you love those people.
That's a week in which Jenny didn't get any other guests just by forgetting that there was a week coming up. So she starts calling all the people. Anyway, that's our theory of
not what happens at all. Alex Hanna wants to know, what software do you use for audio recording and streaming? I use Audio Hijack to record the audio going out on the Hangout. And then I use Audacity to edit that down. And we stream it using Butt over Shoutcast to the Alpha Geek Radio. I can't remember what Butt's an acronym for right off the top of my head. It's broadband something.
I'll bet Todd Whitehead worked really hard to make sure that whatever that acronym was, it would spell butt.
Oh, I don't know if he actually created Butt. Broadcast using this tool. But that broadcast using this tool, yeah, Butt. That's what it stands for. It was created by VC BPAC.
I have created something terrible in the chat room, which is a very fierce debate about who is the heart and soul of Guns N' Roses. Oops.
That's fine. You guys work that out. We'll move on to the next question. Luke Olson, Beats purchases just for the brand, or do they think Jimmy and Dre could contribute? I think they think Jimmy and Dre could contribute.
Yeah, there's relationships there. Part of the issue with Apple has this existing set of relationships that you might consider highly adversarial, fighty with the music industry. And they've tried several times to do some sort of streaming music service, and I think they just kept doing worse and worse iterations on that. At least as somebody who's been using iTunes forever, they never came up with anything remotely compelling, right? Or else it would be an actual, measurable line item on their business. And the Beats system, it's not particularly popular, it's not particularly huge, but it does a lot of intelligent things in the way it handles it, and it's got some fresh thinking. And I think mostly what they want is a couple people who like music, who are thinking about streaming music in a very different way.
Certainly,
yes.
And I had a long conversation just on the phone with Justin Robert Young one day about whether Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre bring negotiating firepower to the table for Apple in a way that none of them can do right now.
I would imagine. There's also, just because, I don't want to be like, Apple's old news, because they're not, and there's still a lot of iPhones being sold and a lot of money. But the Beats brand is present in a way with musicians and artists maybe that Apple is not, and that will help them moving forward. It's also really interesting when you look at the names of people that are getting excited about the new lossless audio player that Neil Young has been putting together, and I think it's going to be an exciting time to be carrying music around in the next couple of years. I'm also a complete, utter, total music geek, so I'm wearing a $300 pair of headphones right now, so that actually sound good, unlike the Beats. It's a weird. From a music distribution standpoint, it's a really interesting purchase. And they make money from a equipment standpoint. Beats are just atrocious.
They're often compared to Bose.
Yeah, not a big fan of Bose either. Yeah. Great marketing company.
Brad Schick.
I have a simple one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, Brad Schick. Do you see the Q&A queue?
I do. I have it up.
Okay.
I was going to click on one, but then I was too late. Oops.
If the currently answering is up there, that means that I've selected it.
Brad
Brad
Schick. How do I select one?
I don't know if you should be able to. Do you not see a select button?
Yeah, because there's one I want to answer. No, I don't. It's just you. It's okay.
Brad
Go
Schick
ahead.
says, do you agree that the Google driverless car is a game changer for taxis and other modes of payable transportation? Total recall. Not yet. I don't think they're a game changer yet. They could be. We'll have to see. We have to see some actual driverless cars out in the real world being operated by real people first.
Yeah, the thing I didn't realize until I read the Google blog announcement for the third time is they haven't even actually built the prototypes, right? So they're talking about building 100 prototype vehicles, and then they have a bunch of them that have, you know, the kind of traditional environment where there's the panic steering wheel that they will put drivers inside of for the initial testing phase. And they're talking about a pilot program here in California a couple years out from now. So let's say everything goes well, the pilot program starts in 2016. You know, we're talking about these, you know, not really existing in a big way for another 5 years, which ironically is pretty close to the schedule that if you talk to some of the major corporations that deal with the electronic side of the automotive industry, they already have self-driving vehicles kind of on the list for 2018 to 2020 for the high end, and then 2025 for the low end automobiles. So this actually isn't particularly aggressive compared to the existing plans, or is not. It's funny. It's almost like they're going to subsidize the self-driving car industry, kind of like they did with the Nexus.
Yeah, I think in the long run, taxi companies that are smart, like Uber, or traditional taxi companies, will just see this as a great way to evolve their business.
Right.
Not that I like to say things like evolve your business, but seem to fit. Okay, Jenny, what's the question that you want to get to?
Okay, this is so exciting because it's so simple and I can answer it. How does one record the Patreon intro? Is there a script, and where does it get submitted? Jamie Lewis. And the answer is you record it by using whatever recording device on your computer you want, or however fancy, or your iPhone. Keep it really short. It does not have a pre-approved script, although we reserve the right to say, maybe this isn't for the top of the show. And then you just email it to us at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
Exactly.
Yay!
I get this question a lot, and it always befuddles me. Audio Revolver says, what happens when there isn't a lot of news? Do you discuss other news that happens earlier throughout the week? Do you have a backup plan if there isn't any news in the week? I have never, ever had a day where there wasn't any news. That has never been a problem I've had to deal with. What happens, the only real challenge is some days you'll have what I call a wide and shallow day, where there's lots of little pieces of news, but none of them are big, right? And those are the days when you kind of look at the subreddit, or at least that's what I do. I look at the subreddit and I go, what are folks there interested in? And there's always something that's catching people's eye there. But generally, you look at the top of Tech Meme, look at the top of Google News, there's always a couple there that they're sharing. They're like, yep, these are the big things of the day.
And, oh, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, and then there's the week between Christmas and New Year's, or the last 2 weeks of December.
Yeah,
but that's when you do what we do at the old jobs, which is you bank features.
Right.
Actually, what we've always done at Buzz Out Loud and Tech News Today is exactly what Jenny's talking about. Feature episodes. We do a best of or something like that. Even then, mostly we do that because we want to have the week off. Right. And we know it's a slower news. There's still things happen. There's still news to talk about if we wanted to do it in those weeks. It's slower. Usually slows down in August too. Right. But I don't know, man. I've never run. I don't know about you, Patrick, but I've never run into there's just no news.
Well, I also want to point out that you are incredibly good at taking what might be a minor news story and bringing it to the audience in a way that makes it maybe much more compelling than it would be if you were scrolling through, Tech Meme, or Google News, google.com/news/tech. And that's also, that's part of the skill there, where the nice thing about a slow news day, and I understand that for Tom Merritt there are no slow news days,
but he had said if there's no news at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No news.
Well, because the beautiful thing about news is that it's both intended, which is some company has a product and they issue a press release and they do a big push, and it's also unintended, which is endless and infinite as the galaxy, the universe, and the solar system.
And that's
so
what
we
happens.
will never run out of news.
Well, that's what happens in August and December, right? In August, nobody announces anything because they know everybody's gone. And same thing at the end of December, nobody announces anything, but you still, that unintended stuff still happens. Do you have another one, Jenny, or should I just take the next one?
Tom, how do you feel the no ads show is working out now that you've been doing it for a while? Did it meet your expectations? And that's from Vandre Brunazao.
Yeah, it's working out fine. I got no complaints. Long as it stays where it is, or even inches up a little more. The more Patreon support we get, the more we can try, and we've got plans for that. But yeah, I got no complaints on that level.
I'm deliriously happy about it, actually.
I don't even think about it much anymore.
I think about it all the time. I mentioned this the other day to another podcast in which I was talking.
Are you not allowed to say? Are you not allowed to promote it yet?
I don't know. I'm not in charge of the PR for that show. But what I was saying was I sometimes go on Patreon and I just look at people. Like, I look at their picture, I look at where they're from, I just sort of think about them for a while because everybody there gave us $1 or a nickel or a penny or $5 or way more than that. And it's humbling and it's awesome. And so that's what I think about when I think about, whether the no ads thing is working. Is like, I would much rather be run by all those people.
Well, yeah, I think about the patrons all the time too. That's a good point. I just don't think about the ads that are missing.
Oh.
They don't, yeah. Audio Revolver also asks, what's your opinion on a driverless Zamboni? I think that's probably one of the best first uses, man. Right? I mean,
why not?
The Zamboni drivers are going to hate me for this, but really, you don't need a Zamboni driver.
There's a video on YouTube of a driverless Zamboni.
It's taken over, man. There's no reason to have them. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I apologize, but I have to duck out.
Oh no, don't apologize. Thanks for staying as long as you did.
No worries.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much. I had so much fun.
Thanks, man.
Come back.
And, come back soon.
I am happy to come back soon. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, cheers.
All right, bye.
When do you think Google will come out with their real-time voice translation in Google Hangouts? Next year's Google I/O. I wonder if Dre will show up at WDC. I bet at least one of them, either Iveen, Dr. Dre, or both will show up. With WordLens acquisition and real-time voice translation, isn't Google Glass the new killer device? If it comes down in price from $1,500 and it gets a better interface, possibly. I don't think it's there yet. And so did Apple take away $200 million for leaking the news early? Maybe.
Yes. I'm going to go with yes.
I mean, we don't know, but that seems like a legitimate supposition. For sure.
For a company that does not like news to be broken even after it announces it, no.
Yeah. I mean, there also could be very legitimate business reasons why they reevaluated things, but
it's called a big mouth penalty. It's called the.
Seems like it could be.
Yeah.
And then Mike says, oh, he had a question for Patrick, but Patrick already left. How do I get a laptop with a desktop CPU? You'll have to ask Patrick that. All right.
What else have we got?
That's it.
Any questions in the chat room?
Yeah. Some people are cats on Patreon.
Driverless Zamboni is my Oasis cover band. Nice.
Well done, Todd Whitehead.
Well done. Well done. No Twitter questions.
All right. We'll do this again. So don't worry. Don't worry if you didn't get a question in or you're afraid or something.
Fears, or you didn't know this was happening,
or you're like,
or you're watching this 2 days later.
Yeah, exactly. Keep around. Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna stop the video broadcast now, but it's not your fault.